So I'll start with when I was younger. I grew up in the Bronx. Anybody? Whoop. Yeah. Nobody? All right. Stand up if you're from the Bronx. Let's do that stand up thing. No one stand up. But I'm standing up for you guys because I'm the only one. But yeah, I grew up in the Bronx, New York with my mom. And at a very young age, I started cooking. She was an accountant, but she never got a chance to spend time with us because she was working so much. She used to tell me, "You always see those shirts, I love New York." Well, I can't afford to love New York. You know what I mean? And I didn't really get that until I was older, until I had to really provide for myself in New York. But she was an accountant, but she wanted to find a way how to spend time with us. So she started cooking, and people started paying her for her cooking. So she started cooking from within the house, and she started a small catering company. And my job was to peel shrimp and stir roux when I was younger. Those were my chores, and I hated doing it, you know. But with those chores, I learned a lot of cooking techniques because she's Creole. So we had gumbo, we had etouffee, we had achafalaya, you know, catfish achafalaya, things like that. And those three things call for three different types of roux: a blonde roux, a white roux, and a dark roux. If I was stirring that dark roux and I let it burn, I was the one that had to redo it. So I learned cooking techniques just from that, just from not wanting my arm to fall off when I was fucking 8 years old. Um, but so you know, I did that for a while until I was 10. You know, long life, it was crazy. But I was too young to go on these catering events. So my mom would leave me at home with a babysitter. My mom and my sister would go on these catering events, and I was stuck with all this mise en place. Mise en place means things in place, just ingredients. And I would be like a mad scientist in the kitchen, you know, like I had all this stuff. Babysitters couldn't tell me anything, you know what I mean? So like I was creating these things for my mom to come home and try, and she'd be like, "This is gross, man." Or she'd be like, "How did you think of this?" I'm like, I like cooked the vegetables down, ma, and then I put it in a blender. And she's like, "That's a puree. You didn't think of this, dude. Like, chill out." And I was like, "Oh, all right, well, thanks," you know what I mean? But so as I got older, I grew up in the Bronx, so I was kind of like a troublemaker in school, and I was veering off from the wrong path. So my mom nipped that in the bud at an early age, and she was like, "All right, you know, you're 10. I'm gonna send you on a vacation to Nigeria for 2 months." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to Nigeria." My father's of Nigerian descent, so she sent me out there, and very, very shortly I learned this was not a vacation. Um, you can see my face. This is the day that I found out I would have to stay there and wear dashikis for 2 years. So at the time, I hated it. You know, I went from playing PlayStation to like doing homework by candlelight. I had to fetch my own water to take a bath. If we wanted chicken, I had to get a chicken, raise it, feed it, and then finally eat it. By that time, I already had named it. You know, I'm playing with it, and my grandfather's making me kill it, and I'm crying like, "Oh no, Red, I loved you." But I was hungry, so we ate it the next day. So I learned this newfound appreciation for life at a very young age that I didn't really understand at that time. You know, if we wanted cooking oil, we had to go to the palm tree and cut the palm fruit and pound it, and then strain it to get palm oil so we can saute. It wasn't like anything that I knew. And I didn't appreciate it till I got back, you know, and I had this newfound appreciation for life at 12 years old. Um, and I kind of put my head down, went through school, you know, went to college, and I went for business administration, and I hated it. It was like the most boring thing in the world. So I dropped out, and my mother moved to New Orleans as soon as I went to high school. And I moved back down there and I started working in kitchens, grungy kitchens, you know, making gumbos and catfish achafalaya and fried shrimp and things like that. But I kind of felt this emptiness inside because I was just doing because it was the only thing I was really good at was cooking. Um, then the Deepwater Horizon oil spill happened in the Gulf of Mexico. Are you familiar with that? That little oil spill that happened? And they were paying like fucking $2,000 for these guys to go out there and cook for like these pirates that were cleaning up this oil spill. So I was like, shit, what do I have to lose? You know, if I go out there, if I get fired, I win in this situation. I get 2 grand, I'm 19, this is it. So I go out there, I go drive down to Houma, Louisiana, get on a small boat, 4 hours into the Gulf of Mexico. It's just a black sea. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I had to swing from boat to boat to get on, like, why am I swinging? Like, we have like the world in our pockets and I'm swinging from a boat to get to someplace. It's crazy. But anyway, I get on there and my mom told me like, this is either gonna make you or break you as a cook, because these guys, they don't care about you. They're gonna tell you your food sucks because this is all they have to look forward to. They're cleaning up oil and they're eating. So I cooked for them, and there were 2 cooks on the boat, a senior cook and a junior cook, so I was a junior cook. And I cooked and they loved my food. We got 3 weeks on and a week off. So that week off, when the head chef left, they were like, Kwame, just want to let you know, we're not telling that chef to come back. We want you to step in as the head chef. And yeah, there you go. You have an unlimited budget. BP's footing the bill, dude. Do what you do. And I was like, all right, shit, let's do this. So my mom gave me the Dean and DeLuca cookbook when I got on the boat, and there was no internet service, so I couldn't even call her and ask her for recipes. If I needed ketchup, I had to make it. So I started just making homey food, and people really, really enjoyed it. So I was like, all right, well, I have kind of a knack for this, let me take this seriously. So after they cleaned up all the oil, in like 2 months, I moved back to New York. I had all this money saved up. I was like, I'm not going back to Louisiana. I'm out of here. So I moved back to New York, and I started waiting tables, and I started working more fluent kitchens. And I started working at Kraft. That was probably one of the restaurants that really opened my eyes to cuisine and showed me there was more to this craft than just slinging plates. For the way that they carry themselves in the kitchen, their cleanliness, things like that. So I was inspired, but I still had this feeling of emptiness because I was only like slicing bread and pouring water. Granted, I was making $800 a week as a waiter, but I still had this feeling of emptiness, and I knew I always chased happiness, and I felt truly not happy. So I was on the train one day coming home from work, and a kid, walked on the train selling candy and basketball team, blah, blah, blah. And I laughed because I grew up in the city, always saw that. And I was like, shit, he just made like fucking $5 in 2 minutes. I was like, how much is that an hour? I thought about it. I'm like, all right, give or take, $60 an hour on a bad hour. It's like, how much is that a 8-hour shift? Like $300-$400 a day? Holy shit. I went in the next day, quit my job, bought a shit ton of candy, and I was like, if I'm not happy, I'm gonna find happiness some way, but I'm gonna work for myself, and I'm gonna save up this money. And I was like, all right, well, I'm good at cooking. I need some sort of direction, but I know catering. That's all I know. So let me start a catering company. So I sold, come on now. I had Skittles, Butterfingers, M&Ms. I had nuts for when I was midtown. I had gum for when I was uptown. I had it all. So I quickly saved up like $20,000 in 2 months. I wasn't playing. And then I opened up a catering company. So these were like all my high school friends. I'm still like 2 years out of high school, okay? So, I employed them all, and we did catering events. This was at Alfre Woodard's house in Harlem. I started doing everything. I didn't turn down any job. Parent-teacher conference, let's go. Soccer game, sandwiches, I'm there. Alfre Woodard, celebrity soiree, we're gonna make this happen some way. And I started doing events all around the city, and I started gaining notoriety. But I felt like I was hitting this glass ceiling. I was getting this notoriety. I didn't feel like I earned it yet, as silly as that sounds. But from working at Kraft, I saw what really good food was. And I know that I needed to take a step back in order to take a step forward. So I always wanted to go to the Culinary Institute of America. But it's like $70,000 to learn how to like flip some eggs, you know what I mean? Like I never really had that kind of money, but now I have this catering company. My first year, I did $100,000 in sales. I didn't even know what to do with it. I was like flying to Paris just to eat crepes and like wasting this money. I had no true direction. So I was like, let me take a step back. So I enrolled into the Culinary Institute of America. And I had this catering company, and I had all of these kids that wanted hands-on experience. So when I enrolled, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this, but I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Like, I have to graduate, not for the industry, because I know it doesn't really mean much, but for myself. And once I enrolled, I got friends, and they were like, you have a catering company? You're my age. I'm like, yeah. They were like, Kwame, we'll just come work for you for free just so we can have some exposure into the industry. So I was able to pay my way through culinary school just by having this catering company that I would, you know, do events on the weekends. We'd like prep in the dorm, bring it down. I had a commercial space in the city at Hot Bread Kitchen. We'd finish it up there, and then we'd do like $10,000 weddings, and we'd figure it out. It was fucking nuts. But yeah, I was able to go to my dream school. It was like Hogwarts, of cooking. But with that, like, I always say this to like my cooks. See, like, I don't expect you to do better until you know better, And I went to the CIA, like, I'm just gonna graduate and start working again, catering. But I went there and I was introduced to fine dining, and I was like, holy shit, what is this? Like, this is beautiful food. I've always like wanted order, my towels folded perfectly, and then I finally get a chance to walk into one of these fine dining kitchens, and that's how they operate for everything. So it was one of those like, I'm home, you know what I mean? So I got a chance to become an apprentice at Per Se. At the time, it was the best restaurant in the country. I still feel it is, because it's an institution. From there, I met Daniel Hume, and he invited me to work at 11 Madison Park while I was still in school. And this is us at the James Beard House doing a dinner. So I would go to school 5 days a week, take the Metro North down, go right into the kitchen as a commis, peel this, peel that, jump on the line because I said I would stay after, get on the train, and go back to school and make it in time for class. So when I graduated, they put me right on the line because I showed dedication. And I was doing that for about a year, and it was amazing. It changed me as a person. But this company called Dinner Lab approached me, and they were doing pop-up restaurants around the city. So they do a pop-up restaurant. At the end of the event, the guests rate you from 1 to 10, or 1 to 5, essentially. So I did one, just having fun, and I got a 4.8 on my dinner on an average. And they were like, all right, well, you did pretty good. We're doing this tour around the country. Would you want to go? And you go to all of our major cities, and you do a pop-up restaurant. And if you win with your tolls, because there's 10 other chefs, you get your own restaurant. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to win, but I'll go and see the country. I was the youngest chef on the tour. So I quit EMP, went around the country, got to do amazing dinners, really grow as a chef, because I'm going from city to city week after week. I'm in a new kitchen, dealing with new staff. I have to instill my restaurant philosophies within hours or else I lose them. And then you get the feedback at the end of the meal, like, this dish sucked. So then, as a chef, it's like your art. Someone telling you it sucks. But you really have to think about that. And they're not saying that maliciously. They really just think your dish sucks and you need to work on it. So that raw feedback made me grow so much as a chef, and I was able to travel around the country. I ended up coming in the top 3 and the top of the challenge. I ended up winning the challenge. But with traveling around, I made so many contacts that I had offers from New York, Nashville, Hong Kong to open up restaurants. And I ended up declining the prize from Dinner Lab and going with an investor in Washington, D.C. And with that, I was able to travel the world. They sent me across Asia. I said I needed to do some R&D. I learned how to make, rice paper by hand, things that I never thought I would be able to see growing up in the Bronx. I was able to do by just taking these calculated risks. I went to Mumbai with my friends, had a blast. Mumbai is a crazy place. But, and then this is my restaurant that I'm opening up. I was given $1 million. Thank you. I was given $1 million to pretty much do whatever the fuck I wanted to do, which is pretty cool. I was able to work with beautiful craftsmen like myself. This is the credenza in the restaurant. This is a dish that I worked on. I was able to really excel. These are handcrafted plates, and just create something beautiful. So that's my story. I just did whatever it takes to get here. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here. And thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.